Two young Jewish brothers from a quiet community in New Jersey left for school one day and never returned. Their fate remained unknown as years turned into a decade of agonizing questions. But 11 years later, divers laying new fiber cables at the bottom of a lake discovered something disturbing in the murky depths, a shocking find that would expose the evil that had been lurking within their peaceful town. The alarm buzzed sharply at 4:45 a.m. Rivka Steinman silenced it quickly, and Moshe stirred beside her, reaching for the lamp. They moved through their morning routine with the practiced efficiency of those who had done this same dance for years, 11 years to be precise. 11 years of early mornings, extra shifts, and the weight of absence that hung in their small Teaneck home like a permanent houseguest. Rivka, now 46, tied her graying hair into a bun, the lines on her face etched by sleepless nights. Moshe, 52, moved more slowly, worn by decades of construction work. But neither complained. The extra money from their grueling schedules went toward private investigators, toward hope that grew thinner with each passing year. They gathered their belongings, Moshe's hard hat and lunch bag, Rivka's purse with the photo of two smiling boys. The photo was from 1995, a year before everything changed. Elf. Then 9 had his arm thrown protectively around 7-year-old I's shoulders. Both wore their yarmulkes proudly, their pay catching the sunlight. The Sapri, October air and Teaneck carried a bite that promised winter's approach. They walked in comfortable silence down Palisade Avenue, their breath forming small clouds in the darkness. The Orthodox Jewish community was already stirring, lights flickering. On in houses, the distant sound of morning prayers drifting from an open window. This Bergen County town had been their sanctuary, once a place where their faith was understood and shared. Now it felt like a museum of memories. The bus stop stood under a flickering streetlight at the corner of Cedar Lane. They were, as always, 5 minutes early. Moshe sat down his lunch bag and flexed, his fingers against the cold, while Rivka pulled her coat tighter. The familiar rumble of the Route 57A bus announced itself before the headlights swept around the corner. The door hissed open, revealing Donald Harwick's familiar face behind the wheel. The driver, somewhere in his early 50s, had been running this route for as long as they could remember. His sandy hair was neatly combed, his uniform pressed despite the early hour morning folks. Donald greeted them with his usual warmth. "Getting cold out there." "Good morning, Don," they replied in unison, a small smile crossing Rivka's face. Donald had driven their boys to school on this very bus. He'd been one of the last to see them that terrible Friday morning in 1996. They paid their fare, exact changes, always, and made their way to their usual seats halfway back. The bus was empty save for them, though it would fill up as they moved through town. Rivka settled by the window, Moshe beside her, their hands finding each other automatically. The bus lurched into motion, following its predetermined path through Taine's sleeping streets. They passed the shuttered shops on Queen Anne Road, the darkened windows of Congregation Bonayisun, the elementary school where their boys should have graduated from years ago. Rivka's phone rang just as they passed the Jewish Community Center. The sound was jarring in the quiet bus. She fumbled for it, checking the caller ID with a frown. "Teaneck Police," she murmured to Moshe before answering. "Hello, Mrs. Steinman. This is Detective Derek Keller from the 10A Police Department." Rivka's grip tightened on the phone beside her. Moshe leaned in, his expression tense. They'd received calls like this before, false leads, dead ends. "Apologies." "Yes, Detective. What is it, ma'am? I need to inform you that there's been a development in your son's case." The words hung in the air. Rivka's free hand found Moshe's, squeezing hard. "What do you mean, a development?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. "A team of worker divers discovered some evidence this morning at the bottom of Lake Tamsin. We have reason to believe it may be connected to Elf and A's disappearance." Moshe gestured for the phone. Rivka tilted it between them so they could both hear. "What kind of evidence?" Moshe asked, his voice rough. "Sir, I understand you want details, but this is something you need to see for yourselves. I'm sending officers to your home now." "We're not home," Moshe interrupted. "We're on the bus heading to work the 57A route." A pause. "I see. Can you come to the station? We can arrange transport to the site from there." "Yes," Rivka said immediately. "We'll come now." "Good, ask for me when you arrive, and Mr. and Mrs. Steinman I know." You've been through a lot these past 11 years. We're treating this with the utmost seriousness." The call ended. Rivka stared at the phone in her hand, as if it might ring again with different news. Around them, the bus continued its route, oblivious to the earthquake that had just shaken their world. "I need to call work," Moshe said, already pulling out his own phone. Rivka nodded, doing the same. Moshe's foreman was understanding. The construction crew knew about the Steinmans' tragedy. But when Rivka reached her boss at Goldberg's Kosher Bakery, Rohan Mira's voice was sharp with irritation. "Again, Rivka. This is the third time this month, Mr. Mayor. The police called. They found evidence last week. It was a family emergency. The week before a medical appointment. We're short-staffed as it is." Rivka's jaw clenched. "This is about my missing sons. The police need us at Lake Tamsin immediately, and I need my baker here immediately. You think I believe every excuse. Bring me an official letter from the police tomorrow or don't bother coming back." The line went dead. Rivka stared at her phone, anger and hurt roaring in her chest. "That man," Moshe muttered, having heard enough of the conversation. "He could hire more staff, but he keeps you and Sarah working like slaves." "He pays overtime," Rivka said weakly. "We need the money, not at the cost of your dignity." The police station stop was approaching. Rivka reached up to press the stop request button, the electronic ding echoing through the empty bus. Donald glanced at them in the rearview mirror as he pulled to the curb. "Not heading to work today?" he asked as they gathered their things. "Police found something at Lake Tamsin," Moshe explained briefly. "About the boys." Donald's face shifted, concern replacing his usual cheerful demeanor. "Lamson, that's my last stop on this route. Goes all the way out through Oakdine to the Ramapo area. 45 minutes by bus at least. We'll have police transport." Rivka assured him it'll be faster. "Of course, I hope. I hope it's good news." Donald's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. Those boys were good kids, always had their bus fare ready. "Thank you," Don Rivka managed a small smile. "We appreciate that." They stepped off the bus into the brightening morning. The police station loomed before them, its brick facade somehow both reassuring and ominous. A patrol car was already waiting in the visitor's lot, engine running. Two officers emerged as they approached. "Mr. and Mrs. Steinman, Detective Keller sent us. We'll drive you to the site." They pulled away from the station and the patrol car ate up the miles between Teaneck and Lake Tamsin, its siren silent but speed urgent. Moshe held Rivka's hand the entire way. Neither, speaking both lost in memories of two boys who'd vanished on a Friday morning 11 years ago, leaving nothing behind but questions and heartbreak. The patrol car crested the final hill before Lake Tamsin and Rivka gasped at the scene below. What should have been a quiet morning at the remote lake had transformed into a hive of activity. Police cruisers lined the access road, their red and blue lights painting patterns across the water's surface. Regional authority vehicles were parked haphazardly on the grass, and workers, in reflective vests, moved purposefully around the shoreline. The October morning had brightened, considerably revealing the full scope of the operation. "Quite the operation," the officer driving commented, navigating carefully through the assembled vehicles. Detective Brennan stood near the water's edge, his tall frame easy to spot among the crowd. He was younger than Detective Keller, perhaps early 40s, with the kind of intense focus that suggested he took every case personally. He looked up as their patrol car approached, raising a hand in acknowledgement. Mr. and Mrs. Steinman, Detective Brennan greeted them as they emerged from the vehicle. His handshake was firm but gentle, as if he understood they might shatter at any moment. "Thank you for coming so quickly. I know this must be difficult." "Where's Detective Keller?" Moshe asked, looking around. "He's coordinating from the station. I'm the lead investigator on site. Please follow me." They walked toward the lake, passing forensics technicians in white coveralls who worked with methodical precision. Yellow evidence markers dotted the ground like artificial flowers. The morning sun cast long shadows across the scene, and the air smelled of lake water and disturbed earth. "Here," Detective Brennan said. Stopping at a cordoned area where several evidence bags lay on waterproof sheets, Rivka's knees nearly buckled. Even through the plastic evidence bags, she could see them, two small yellow backpacks, the same ones she'd bought at Weinstein's department store for the new school year in 1996. Beside them in separate bags were 2 yarmulkes navy blue with silver trim, and then incongruously a large metal box marked with German text and a statue of an eagle clutching a swastika in its talons. "This is Reuben Michaels," Detective Brennan said. Introducing a man in a wetsuit who stood nearby, he made the discovery. Reuben stepped forward, water still dripping from his diving equipment. He was perhaps 35 with the solid build of someone who worked underwater for a living. His expression was somber as he shook their hands. I'm sorry.